This is called Some NBA News, and I'm doing this because what the hell else, right? Just imagine me with a tie on. Okay, what's in the news, guys? Number one, I guess Gar Forman. Gar Forman is stepping back from his role in the Chicago Bulls, and that is giving a lot of Bulls fans a lot of hope because they think that's going to change the image of the Chicago Bulls, but guess what? It won't. Shout out to Randy Brown. You were a great spy for the organization. Let's move on. Next, Horse, Chris Paul, Zach LaVine, Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce should disappear for like 10 years. It's the only way to let your legend grow and not embarrass yourself. Something that Dwayne Wade is also doing. Thank God for this whole pause on basketball because Dwayne Wade, by talking too much and talking about current players, was on his way to making himself and exposing himself as the joke that Paul Pierce had become. You got to go away to let your legend set in. That is a fact. You got to do it. You got to disappear. You come back later. Okay? That is that. That's how you do that. Otherwise, you sit around, you say too much regular shit that people also realize is just regular shit, and you sound bitter and salty, and you got to talk about people who are currently playing because that's what you do when you're on TV. And when you do that, you look really petty, okay? Anybody who's about to retire, go away. Go away. Only people that can benefit from popping right back on TV are middle-level players, folks like Kenny Smith, the Dunk Ingenue. Folks like JJ Redick. That guy, he's retired, right? How bitter is JJ Redick? Why does he come off so bitter? If that man were a different type of man, he would get a lot more hate. For some reason, we think he's discerning, that his opinion matters more than it does, that he has some sort of thought behind his critiques. But he just hates. He's so angry, it seems like. Okay, next. 2 minutes left on this very first edition of Some NBA News. And I was going to make this sound a lot crappier because apparently you can get away with that. Just recording yourself on a phone with no microphone and put that on national TV. Apparently it's okay. And you can do it from your bathroom. Good God. Zach LaVine is such an interesting character. I really appreciate that guy. I hope he wins the horse contest. I love his competitiveness, and I love how he's constantly trying to redefine himself and not just lean into the thing that he should be known for. I'm being sarcastic. Just dunk, man. Okay, but I do appreciate him. Next, I guess there's a lot of news because Ethan Strauss is going on and living off of his coverage of Kevin Durant, which is like, God, it's that weird thing that happens where a reporter kind of becomes the ire of an NBA player, and then they try to define themselves by that player. I'm sure Kevin Durant hates that Ethan Strauss is trying to memorialize him and KD through his perspective. Okay, I got less than a minute here. Also, KD is probably the most regular person in the NBA. He is not a different dude. He's a regular guy, and that's what I just need people to understand. He is one of the most sensitive, one of the most reflective, one of the most inconsistent and unsubtle and wavering people in the NBA. And guess what? I just described humanity, right? That's people. What we're used to in basketball or pro sports is people putting up a wall and being a statue and a monolith and a big giant monster that doesn't react to anything. The problem is that he's 7 foot tall and he's great at basketball. And for some reason, we expect a different type of processing power from our athletes. I mean, they are literally giants, right? So they already feel different. I mean, if we ran across the bones of a 7 foot giant in a cave, anthropologists and geologists would categorize that as some sort of relic of the time when we were giants, right? But we have giants today. We have them. And we expect them to be different, right? It's funny, if you notice the way we communicate and respond and expect behavior out of the shorter players, I mean, like legitimately shorter players like Isaiah Thomas and stuff and Nate Robinson, we kind of deal with them in more standard terms, just the way we talk about them or talk to them or the way they can talk to us. But when it comes to the premier players who typically are giants, we just expect more out of them. And by more, I mean less. They should be stoic. They should be unresponsive, unaffected, oblivious. I don't read the papers. I don't listen to the comments, all that kind of crap. But it's ridiculous. Because we even know for a fact that the ones that portray that particular persona That's not what they are. Because 30 years later, when they're doing the documentary, you hear people like Magic saying, man, I was reading the papers every day. I was reading everything they had to say about me. I was reading everything that Larry Bird did across the country, and that is the thing that was driving me crazy every day, right? And in the time when it was happening, all they would say was, I don't pay attention to that. That doesn't concern me. And that's for some reason the act that we want them to play, and then we want them to kind of give up the ghost, right? Later in life, be like, I was just kidding. LeBron tried to pull that stuff at one point during a finals run. He tried to say that he had a secret motivation, right? And then he wouldn't reveal his secret motivation until after the finals. I think this was 2016. I think he said it afterwards. It was something petty. But the point was that if he would have said it during the finals, it would have seemed extra petty. So now we have individuals who are more responsive. They do react. They are more sensitive. They aren't good at putting the mask on. And you know what? They're not great at making friends either. And things like what people are saying and the energy people are projecting matter to them, and they're not stoic about it. Number one, they can actually express themselves more clearly. It's impossible to think that during his time, Michael Jordan wouldn't be on social media talking shit during his time. I mean, he was still, after games, talking about people who wrote about him in the papers. Just wasn't covered the same. So the point is that KD is one of the most normal people the game has ever seen, and he may be a pioneer because the wave of young talent now is much more exposed and vulnerable. I mean, I don't think Trae Young has ever hit a shot without going on Twitter telling people to apologize to him, right? I don't even know who his haters are. I mean, now I do, but even Ja Morant, that guy. First time I ever heard him, he was talking about the haters. And they said he couldn't do it. I'm like, I don't even know. Who said you? Congratulations, son. Good job. I'm proud of you. Like, who's saying you couldn't do it? But I get it. There is somebody saying they couldn't do it, and it's very easy to find that person because they are tagging them 50 times a day, right? And it's very hard to go on the internet and not run into it. So, you know what? KD might have been a pioneer, having his burner account and having dialogues with individuals. That's what we have now. It's not different. It's regular now. So maybe he was a pioneer in that space, but he's not different. He ain't a different dude. He's like you. Sensitive. Okay. Anyway, maybe LeBron was the pioneer, but the issue with LeBron is that he has developed a language that is expressed through sports cliches. If you ever listen to LeBron talk, you can count the cliches. Even his transitional thoughts are forms of cliches or saying. And for a while, I thought that was artificial. I thought it was him putting a wall up. But what I think is that when you become a professional basketball player and the most covered athlete ever, that's the school you go to. You go to the school of post-game interviews. And he has basically developed a way to tie cliches together to actually express himself. But the sports media is so programmed to hear those things as deflections or things to cover up the way people feel that they kind of don't hear it. Anyway, LeBron's always telling us what he thinks, but it's in a form that is similar to an older time in the NBA. All right, I think I've run out of time. I only want to keep this about 10 minutes. I'm posting this on the Learning channel. This is my first Some NBA News, and no production, zero. I'm going to put pictures up of basketballs from throughout the ages and my own personal drawings. All right. Patrons. Shout out to the patrons. And I'll put more of these up on the secret NBA Storyteller production file folder, which is what you get access to if you are a patron. Somebody got even more feedback on that. I got one guy who said he loves it. Another guy was like, you don't have to do all that. And I appreciate both, but I'm trying to give people more access to the process. I got like 3 guys out there who are asking me for help with their channels. And God, you know what? I want to do it. There's 2 guys who want me to be on their podcast and I flaked on them. That's not true. I got kids. I'm not a flake. I got kids and they're alive and a wife. No flake here. I'm just non-responsive at times. But I actually only give myself 3 flakes before I actually have to do it. So Rudy, Noah, I think that's your real name, Noah. I'm coming on your podcast soon. Hope you listen to this. All right. Shout out to everybody. Matt, what's up? Thanks for the idea, by the way, or encouraging me for the idea for the NBA secret process folder that you get access to if you are a patron. Follow me on Twitter if you want to know way too much about what I think about other things. Follow me on Instagram if you never want to hear from me. And become a patron if you like abusive relationships or neglectful fathers. All right, bye.